1976, Carrie emerged as a chilling masterpiece, forever etching its place in horror history. But beneath its iconic scenes lies a darker, unexplained narrative. Sissy Spacek's haunting portrayal of Carrie White was no accident. She isolated herself, surrounded by religious iconography, studying the tormented poses of biblical sinners. Yet, was it mere method acting or something more sinister? Amy Irving's real-life mother screamed her actual name in terror during the final scene, a mistake buried by the score, and Nancy Allen claims she never realized her character's true evil until the film's release. Was it just a movie, or did something follow them? What if the curse wasn't just on screen? In the quiet town of Chamberlain, Maine, a story was brewing, one that would forever change the landscape of horror. Carrie, Stephen King's first published novel, was born from a blend of personal experience and raw imagination. King, then a struggling writer, drew inspiration from a high school memory of a girl who was relentlessly bullied, combined with his fascination for telekinesis. The result, a tale as haunting as it was groundbreaking. But bringing Carrie to the screen was no small feat. Enter Brian De Palma, a director known for his bold vision and willingness to push boundaries. De Palma saw in King's novel not just a horror story, but a profound exploration of isolation, vengeance, and the darker corners of human nature. Yet, the journey from page to screen was fraught with challenges. How do you visually capture the internal torment of a telekinetic teenager? How do you balance the horror with the humanity? And then there was the cast. Sissy Spacek, with her ethereal presence, embodied Carrie White, while Piper Laurie brought a chilling intensity to the role of Margaret White, Carrie's fanatically religious mother. Interestingly, Laurie initially thought the character was so over the top that the film had to be a comedy. Nancy Allen, who played Chris Hogginson, had a similar revelation, believing her character was meant for comic relief until she saw the finished film. Even the high school's name, Bates High, was a nod to Psycho's Norman Bates, and the film's score echoed Bernard Herrmann's iconic four-note violin theme from Hitchcock's masterpiece. For just $2,500, King sold the rights to his debut novel, a decision he later called fortunate. Little did he know, Carrie would become a cultural phenomenon, a film that dared to ask, what happens when the outcast fights back? As the cameras rolled and the blood began to flow, Carrie wasn't just a movie, it was a mirror reflecting the darkest parts of ourselves. Upon its release in 1976, Carrie captivated audiences and critics alike, quickly establishing itself as a touchstone in the horror genre. Directed by Brian De Palma and based on Stephen King's debut novel, the film's narrative of teenage angst and supernatural vengeance resonated deeply, giving voice to the struggles of young women facing bullying and repression. Audiences were drawn in not only by the gripping story, but also by Sissy Spacek's unforgettable performance as the tormented Carrie White. Her transformation from shy, bullied girl to vengeful prom queen is a moment that remains etched in cinematic history. The iconic prom scene, where Carrie unleashes her telekinetic powers after being drenched in pig's blood, stunned viewers and became a defining moment in horror cinema. In fact, during filming, Spacek chose to remain in her bloody clothes for continuity, refusing to wash off the effects for 3 days, a testament to her dedication to the role. The film's chilling atmosphere was heightened by its haunting score, which included motifs reminiscent of Hitchcock's Psycho. The four-note violin theme echoed throughout, subtly connecting the sense of dread that permeated both films. Interestingly, many may not know that the high school in Carrie is called Bates High, a nod to Norman Bates that further cements the film's place in horror lineage. Critical acclaim followed, with many praising the performances, particularly that of Piper Laurie as Carrie's fanatically religious mother. Laurie initially believed her character's portrayal was overly comedic, leading to a blend of dark humor and genuine terror that would influence filmmakers for years to come. Ultimately, Carrie was more than just a horror film. It was a cultural phenomenon that paved the way for future stories about the complexities of adolescence. Its legacy endures, inspiring generations of filmmakers to explore the chilling depths of human emotion and societal pressures. As we revisit the haunting moments of Carrie, we are reminded of how this film not only terrified audiences, but also reshaped the horror genre itself. One iconic scene stands out above all: the prom night massacre. The juxtaposition of joy and horror reaches a fever pitch as Carrie, played by the mesmerizing Sissy Spacek, is crowned prom queen, only to have her moment shattered by the cruel prank that changes everything. De Palma's genius is evident in the dizzying camera work, where he spins his actors on a platform while dollying the camera in the opposite direction, creating an intoxicating sense of disorientation that mirrors Carrie's own spiraling emotions. Aeske's transformative performance anchors the film, embodying both the vulnerability and raw power of a girl pushed too far. Her portrayal resonates deeply. We feel her pain and rage, making the climax all the more devastating. In her own words, she described the experience as deeply personal, channeling her own feelings of isolation into the character. As we see the chaos unfold at the prom, we're not just witnessing horror, we're experiencing the tragic culmination of years of bullying and abuse. Piper Laurie's chilling portrayal of Margaret White adds another layer of complexity to the film. To many, she is the epitome of a fanatical mother. Yet Laurie herself thought her character was so exaggerated it bordered on comedy. It's fascinating to think that during takes, she would burst into laughter, not fully grasping the horror she was part of. Brian De Palma had to remind her that they were making a horror film, not a black comedy. This interplay between humor and horror only adds to the film's unsettling tone, making it a unique viewing experience. The film's ending diverges from Stephen King's novel, a creative choice that the author himself appreciated, even preferring it to his original conclusion. This twist has left a lasting impact on viewers, solidifying Carrie as a timeless classic that continues to haunt the cultural landscape. Ultimately, Carrie transcends its genre, delving deep into themes of revenge, isolation, and the consequences of cruelty. Its legacy endures, with countless references in popular culture and a remarkable influence on subsequent horror films. As we reflect on these peak moments, we recognize how Carrie not only terrified us, but also sparked conversations about the darker facets of humanity, leaving an indelible mark on cinema history. As we dive deeper into Carrie, it's impossible not to reflect on the remarkable dedication of its cast and crew. Sissy Spacek, who portrayed the troubled Carrie White, fully immersed herself in the role. She famously isolated herself from the rest of the cast to embody Carrie's loneliness, often spending time alone in her trailer, which created an intense atmosphere on set. This commitment paid off as her performance became a cornerstone of the film's chilling impact. The prom scene, iconic in its horror, presented unique challenges during filming. De Palma, known for his innovative cinematography, utilized a combination of practical effects and clever camera techniques to create the unforgettable moment when Carrie unleashes her telekinetic powers. The famous pig's blood scene was particularly complex. It required meticulous planning and coordination to ensure that the blood would fall just right. To get that perfect shot, they used a rigged system that would pour the blood from above, and the reactions of the actors were genuine, adding to the film's emotional weight. Interestingly, Betty Buckley, who played the supportive gym teacher Miss Desjardins, was only 28 at the time of filming, just 2 years older than Sissy Spacek. The camaraderie among the cast lent a sense of authenticity to their performances. Meanwhile, Piper Laurie, portraying the oppressive Margaret White, had stepped away from acting after The Hustler in 1961. Initially perplexed by the script, she found clarity after discussing it with her husband, realizing that De Palma infused a darkly comedic tone into the narrative. This realization transformed her approach to the character, allowing her to deliver one of the most memorable portrayals in horror cinema. In a fascinating twist, Stephen King actually preferred the film's ending to that of his novel, appreciating how De Palma captured the essence of Carrie's tragic arc. As we reflect on these behind-the-scenes stories, it's clear that Carrie was not just a film. It was a passionate collaboration of talent, creativity, and groundbreaking innovation that left an indelible mark on the genre. As the cameras rolled on Carrie, whispers began to circulate among the cast and crew. It wasn't just the chilling story that sent shivers down their spines. Something felt off. Unexplained accidents plagued the set, from malfunctioning equipment to strange, inexplicable delays. Sissy Spacecake, who channeled Carrie's torment with haunting authenticity, recalled moments of unease, as if the weight of the character lingered even when the cameras stopped. Piper Laurie, emerging from a 15-year hiatus to play Margaret White, initially struggled to grasp the script's depth. It was only after her husband's insight that Brian De Palma often laced his work with dark humor that the role clicked. Yet even then, she couldn't shake the feeling that something sinister lurked in the shadows. On set, the line between fiction and reality blurred. Amy Irving and Priscilla Pointer, playing Sue Snell and her mother, brought a real-life familial bond to their roles, but even their closeness couldn't dispel the growing tension. Strange occurrences, like lights flickering without cause or props moving on their own, left the crew on edge. Was it mere coincidence, or was the film's curse seeping into reality? As the production pressed on, one question lingered. Was Carrie just a movie, or had they awakened something far more chilling? As the cameras rolled on Carrie, the line between fiction and reality began to blur in unsettling ways. The film's haunting narrative seemed to cast a shadow over everyone involved, as if the curse of Carrie White herself had seeped into the production. It started with the tragic death of a crew member during filming, an event that left the set in mourning and whispers of a darker force at play. But that was only the beginning. Piper Laurie, who delivered a chilling performance as Margaret White, narrowly escaped a near-fatal accident when her car skidded off a mountain road. She survived, but the incident left her shaken, as if the fanaticism of her character had bled into her own life. And then there were the bizarre occurrences that followed the cast and crew long after the cameras stopped rolling. Sissy Spacek, the embodiment of Carrie, spoke of strange, unexplainable events in her life post-filming, as if the role had left an indelible mark on her soul. Even Stephen King, the mastermind behind the story, admitted this adaptation was much better than the book, a rare endorsement from the author himself. The 1976 version of Carrie wasn't just a movie. It was a phenomenon, a haunting reminder that some stories carry a weight beyond the screen. And for those who lived it, the curse of Carrie was all too real. In the wake of Carrie's release, the cast and crew found themselves forever changed by the experience. Sissy Spacek, who embodied the tormented Carrie White, recalled how the role lingered with her long after the cameras stopped rolling. Piper Laurie, who played Margaret White, struggled to shake off the intensity of her character, finding solace in the support of her fellow actors. Brian De Palma, the visionary director, went on to helm other iconic films, but Carrie remained a defining moment in his career. Stephen King, whose novel birthed this cinematic masterpiece, saw his name catapulted into the spotlight, forever altering the landscape of horror literature. The so-called curse of Carrie became part of its legend, with whispers of on-set mishaps and eerie coincidences adding to its mystique. Yet, despite the shadows, the film's success cemented its place in cinematic history, leaving an indelible mark on all who were part of its creation. Decades later, Carrie remains a haunting masterpiece, its legacy etched in horror history. Sissy Spacek's raw, unforgettable performance, born from Vaseline-slicked hair and a childhood sailor dress, redefined what it meant to play the outcast. The chilling statue of Saint Sebastian in Carrie's home, pierced by arrows, mirrored her own martyrdom. As the blood-soaked prom night fades to black, we're left with a sobering truth. Sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that feel all too real. Carrie isn't just a film, it's a mirror.